And I'm sure my sister-in-law is going to see this, but anyway. And uncles as well were like, no, ingane ithumele izonqatshelwa Natali, makoti in, and I was like, Bafethu, this person, ekugcineni kwey'nsuku zakhe, he said, bury me where you can access my grave. Bury me where you can drive to and see my grave. Take my children there, How am I going to drive 9 hours? So it was a very, very difficult and emotional time. I won't lie to you.
Welcome to the Safe Space Chats podcast with Madam Speaker. Hi, my name is Perseverance Maremeni, also known as Madam Speaker, also known as the CEO of Self-Love. On this podcast, we are creating a safe space for ourselves through heart-to-heart conversations, encouraging others to do the same. Just because we don't believe in the same things, we don't like the same things, we're not interested in the same things, it does not mean that we cannot coexist. So this is a safe space for you to exist even when you are different and unique. Hi everyone, welcome to the Safe Space Chats podcast with Madam Speaker. My name is Perseverance Maremeni, also known as Madam Speaker, also known as the CEO of Self-Love. I have a special guest as usual. I always say that I can never ever come here going alone. And I'm going to let our guest introduce herself for today. Hi my darling.
Hi sweetie.
How are you doing?
All right, and you?
I'm good, thank you.
Awesomeness. Please
introduce yourself to the people.
Alrighty, my name is Nonhlanhla Mhlongo. Married for 6 years. Unfortunately, lost my husband on the 6th year.
Okay.
I'm a mother of 2 boys, Langalibalile and Pilangezwi. And I work as a business development manager under Fidelity. So, yeah.
Oh, okay. It's nice to meet you. I'm so sad and sorry that, after having been married for 6 years, you had to lose your husband. Yeah. And I would love to get to the part where, we talk about you losing your husband and life after that. But I would love to start with, just a little brief of how it was like, life with your husband when he was still alive.
Sure. They usually say God brings you someone that will complement your character. And that was my husband.
Yeah.
He was a total opposite of who I was. I tend to be an ambivert. I shut down in a space of a lot of people. But he brought that out in me. My marriage was beautiful. Yeah. I remember that we met literally became friends first, and then within a year he said to me, actually, I was like, dude, is that how you ask for mshato,
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm serious, I want you to be my wife. And I was like, this guy is just, we are khulu manje, surprisingly, the following year, literally, he sent a letter and, we got married. Yeah. And within a year, we were blessed with a baby boy. So my marriage was really, really beautiful. Yeah.
Sure. That is amazing. And, how was it like, to be, is it something that, because usually I always say that life is not a one size fits all, right? So there are people that, because they come from backgrounds where there was a marriage which didn't work out, then they never want to get married. Some, they come from marriages which work out, then they want to, mimic that and things don't work out. Would you say that for you to be able to be in a relationship like that was, inspired, or you took bits and pieces of what you had when you were growing up, which made it such a beautiful marriage that you had with your husband?
So, Madam Speaker, I come from a very, very loving family. Unfortunately, my dad died when I was 10, 11, turning 12. But I had seen the model love, I had seen the model what it meant to be in a warm home, And I remember that growing up, I usually used to say, I want to be, in that kind of a marriage. And I want to get a husband that will be like my father. Even though I didn't want someone who's going to be my father, but I wanted to get a husband that, will mimic what my father did, know. And funny enough, my husband and I came from very different worlds. His parents were never married. And here I was with that idea of how a happy family should be. And you know what? For a person that didn't grow up with parents that were married, goodness, the love that he showed was amazing. You would have known that he was, he was in between parents that were married. Yeah.
I always say that sometimes the way people come into your life, whether it's for a short period of time or for like maybe a lengthy period of time, and they leave you. I usually say this about people who have passed away, to say, sometimes you would look at them and you'd be like, yeah, no, you were too good for me to keep you this long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny enough, this past December, we went home with my family and my boys, and I just got so overwhelmed, with everyone there. And I looked around, and that affirmation rather that actually this person is not coming back,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And everyone had something to say about Upilani, you know, that, hey guys, man, this person would come in and light up the room, you know? He didn't behave as Mohonyana, but he came in and he became a son, you know? So that is when I sat in my room and I was like, Aibo, why was it so short? Why did I have to experience this beautiful soul for such a short time, you know? And why did his children have to experience the love that he had to give to them in such a short space of time? And honestly speaking the truth, in as much as I'm a Christian, I still have days where I'm like, but Lord, in as much as you say we don't question your will, I still want to understand why.
Yeah, and that's okay. You know, there are so many men of God in the Bible who would, you know, question God. David would, you know, I don't even want to quote prophet by prophet, but you know that about Job, they would always, you know, complain to God to say, God, why didn't you, I cursed the day that I was born.
Yeah.
So sometimes, you know, I know that because we want to be perfectionists so much, we don't want to express our emotions to a point where we feel like, you know what, saying why me, Lord, why, and just throwing a tantrum from time to time, we feel like it's not a Christian thing to do, but it actually is a Christian thing to do. It's okay to do that as long as after that you pick yourself up and you keep going. And how was it? How old were your kids when your husband passed?
Sure, my firstborn had just turned 4 because he's a January baby. The small one was 2, going to 3. Yeah.
Do you mind sharing what happened to your husband?
Sure. So we, you know, most the story of vaccination.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were
During
all
the
under
COVID
pressure.
times.
Yeah, we were all under pressure at work, and you know, a lot of us, our livestock was threatened. You know, our jobs were threatened because if you don't vaccinate, clients can't see you. And me and him were basically working for the same company. Funny enough, my desk this side, when you walk out, is his office the other side.
Wow.
So it was a beautiful, you know, beautiful experience. So around about October, we both get vaccinated, and you know, Madam Speaker, I still say it's God. So he got vaccinated with Pfizer.
Okay.
I also wanted Pfizer, simply because I'm also asthmatic, you know. And the day that I went, he went like 2 weeks before me. Then the following 2 weeks, I went. And I get to clicks and I'm like, I want to also get vaccinated with Pfizer. And the guy behind me says, no, mina, ngifuna Johnson & Johnson. And I still say it is God because I don't think I'd be here today. So the rooms get, for some reason, we get mixed around with the gentleman. He gets the Pfizer, I get the Johnson.
Okay.
And fine, my husband is still okay after his shot. October, November, we go to KZN to bury his uncle. We're back. December, right at the beginning, the end of November, so my husband is complaining of body aches. You know, when I touch him, he's got a high temperature. He keeps on saying my body's aching. And I think that was the time when the new variant was just released, that there's a new variant or whatever of COVID.
Yeah.
And I come back from work, I give him a massage, and I'm like, dude, but we are Shisa, man. And you know, Shisa in a very weird way. And he says to me, but now, I'm feeling cold.
Sure.
And eventually, around about the 4th of December, he says, you know what, let me get a COVID test. And he gets the COVID test. It comes out positive on the 5th of December.
Okay.
So we obviously notify our bosses that my husband is tested positive. So we obviously have to isolate because we work for the same company. We notify our friends that were with us, you know, the previous weekend or whatever. And our helper that, listen, please go and test as well because Ndate tested positive.
Sure.
And unfortunately, she came back quickly. She tested positive as well.
Okay.
I was the only one that tested negative, but I had symptoms.
Okay.
So complications started there.
Okay.
Around about the 19th of December, my husband starts to complicate. Just after isolation, the 14 days, he starts to complicate. He's admitted. And things turned for the worse. You know, our treating GP at that time said, you know what, I am suspecting that it could be Pfizer that is fighting basically in his system because there's a client or rather there's a patient that took the same vaccination and has the same symptoms as your husband. So now it's no longer just COVID, it is long COVID.
Sure.
That is why there's more and more complications. So he complicated until the 14th of February when he passed on Valentine's Day.
Sure.
Yeah,
That is so heartbreaking.
very heartbreaking.
I don't want to dwell too much on the types of vaccinations,
Yeah,
you know, because I don't want us to be in trouble with anybody saying we are saying anything bad about them.
Yeah.
But do you, to a certain degree, feel like maybe you guys should not have even vaccinated to begin with, or it's just a matter of, you know what, good things happen to bad people, bad things happen to good people?
You know, to be very honest with you, let me tell you about a day whereby we were driving to work together. And he says to me, we must vaccinate, you know. Ngicela ukuthi si vaccinate because I think one of the indaba and all that.
Yeah.
And I said I have a bad feeling about this, you know. I mean, what if one of us dies? And you know what, my husband, he looks at me and he says, then it will be the will of God.
Sure.
I still have a knot in my stomach when I think about that conversation because I can tell you exactly where we were about to off ramp, you know. And I said, Usho kanjani? And he said, Stano sami isikhathi sokufa mase sifikile.
Sure.
That conversation came back to mind on the early hours as I drove to the hospital to really verify that my husband is no more.
Sure.
You know, so I will not lie to you. The whole of 2022, I was very angry. You know, it hurt that my husband took this vaccination and he died. Yes, COVID was involved as well, but he died, you know. And I felt like, Lord, why didn't you, I don't know, save him, you know? Why wasn't he one of the lucky ones? Because a lot of people were like, yo, I vaccinated and you're right, you know? And you know, when you tell people about it, like, some of them have actually said, vaccinated now, and you're thinking to yourself, hey, my darling, if only you knew, you know? So I won't lie to you. I think right now, funny enough, I'm actually talking to you and I'm not even breaking down. But last year, I couldn't even, when someone asked me, how did your husband die? And I would actually say, this is what happened. And I would weep bitterly, you know, because it just hurt so much that this is what had happened. Yeah.
So it's one day at a time, though.
One day at a time,
Yeah. And when you find out that your husband has now passed away, what is the next thing that you do as a young widow?
You know, my mother once said to me, Danami, you do not know a journey unless you walk it.
True, that is true.
I couldn't understand. Then she broke it down on parenting. She said to me, when you have a child, you're going to understand a lot of things that I keep on saying to you. Right now, they don't make sense. And let me tell you, I saw my mom losing her mind a bit when my dad passed.
Sure.
And as a young, actually, I was 33 when my husband passed, turning 34 that year, which is 2022. Listen, I've got 2 toddlers in the house.
Sure.
The call comes in, hi, ma'am, we did everything we could.
Sure.
And unfortunately, Pilani didn't survive. My butler gate, I wanted to come out of it. Actually, I'm having goosebumps thinking about it. I wanted to come out from it because I felt like I'm losing my mind. I'm like, Lord, how? How do you take my pillar? You know, how do you take this person that is supposed to help me raise these children? And listen, no one tells you that there's going to be someone who's going to say, hey, actually, it's you know? And I remember that one of my aunts said to me, stand up. As I stood, she took tuku. You should know this. She took tuku and then I'm faster when I'm taking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then ubule boko.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand at that time because I'm thinking to myself, I just want to bury my husband. He's been through a lot, you know, in this 2 months, it's just been a lot for him. And now there's obviously discussions around and you know, Madam Speaker, I responded on one thing. My husband wanted to be buried in Johannesburg, closer to where his children can actually visit his gravesite.
Yes.
And I said it once, and I said, I'm not going to repeat it.
Sure.
Whoever wants to come to the funeral, there is money for a quantum, but the funeral is not going to be in KZN. And I thank God that, you know, he intervened at that time because there was just, Piano was peaceful, man. There was just peace. Things came together and we buried him.
So everybody adhered to what you were saying? Or
yeah, even though some, you know, obviously,
yes.
you know,
at a funeral,
you know, and a lot of things were said, you know, some by cousins, his side, that and I'm sure my sister-in-law is going to see this, but anyway. And you know, uncles as well were like, no, and Natali, Makoti and I was like, Bafetu, this person, he said, bury me where you can access my grave. Bury me where you can drive to and see my grave. Take my children there, you know. How am I going to drive 9 hours? You know. So it was a very, very difficult and emotional time. I won't lie to you. In as much as I do not want to go pretty much deep on a lot of things that were said, but it was a time whereby the vows that I had made with my husband were challenged as well. That kahle kahle nixoxeni lengaka, you know, ukuthi ungafuni nangesidumbu, you know. So it was a very challenging time, I must say.
You know, the one thing that actually comes as you were sharing the story, because my mom is late as well. I've had a conversation with somebody who's also a widow about how when the husband passes away, the wife is the witch. When the wife passes away, the husband is the witch. So automatically, the day you get married, this is the reason why I'm saying this is because you said something about the vows. The day you get married is the day you become a certified witch.
Yes.
Because if anybody who passes away between the two of you, the other one is going to be to blame for that.
Yeah, that's true.
And you just have to accept that and move.
You have to. You know, you look at it and you pretend as if you don't see it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, my journey to healing, I'm still on it even now. And until today, there are comments that I still get around ingane wazing is in Natal. But you last saw me. Some of you didn't attend the funeral because you were angry that is Tumba Sehlanga se Natal. You know, you haven't seen my kids since their father passed on. You haven't called me. You know, and I'm still the bad person. And I usually, as my therapist usually says to me, take what is good for you, dwell on it. What is not good, chuck it aside, because now we're trying to overcome the depression. We're trying to overcome the anxiety. We're trying to overcome the sleeplessness. So if you're going to focus on, okay, these people are saying 1, 2, and 3, how is it going to help you?
Yeah. And also remember your kids, you are all they have, you know, and
exactly.
And if these people are going to get to you, if anybody's going to get to you, then the person that actually, the people who actually suffer the most, it's your kids. It's not the people who are saying things that they are going to be saying to you.
Definitely.
I want to move on, right, to life after you losing your husband. But I want us to touch a little bit on the stigma that comes with being a widow until today, because I believe it's been 2 years now, right?
It's going to be 2 years
How's the stigma? Because I do believe that everything in life has got a stigma of its own. How's the stigma of being a widow?
Sure. The very much famous question that you get, ukezile na?
Sure.
That's the first thing, you know. So I was wearing my ring for quite some time, and I took it off because here comes this gentleman, and he obviously proposes or whatever, and then you respond. So I try by all means not to be rude, you know, and I'd say, no, actually, but I'm not interested. So there was one that was curious. How you're not interested? Is he around here? I'm like, yeah, he's around here, you know. And then I start laughing. And as I laughed, a tear dropped. He's like, Sissy, you can't just say your husband is around and you start crying. And I said, actually, my husband is late, you know. And then he moved away a bit and he said, ukezile na?
Sure.
And I was like, ooh, that is a very rude question to ask a stranger, you know. And let me tell you, in the beginning, I experienced even colleagues refusing to sit next to me at work. Yeah, because you know. I had an experience of men saying, I mustn't have an eye contact with them. I must look down when I speak to them because I had, you know, I remember that there was an incident whereby I walked into this shop and an elderly lady looks at me and says, shame, I was wearing black clothes and, you know, it took and whatnot. And then I said, I didn't respond. Then I just cried. And she said, and, you know, it broke my heart there and there, you know, and I couldn't wait, even though I wanted to mourn for my husband for that period. But I was like, Lord, when do I get off this period? Because it's almost like now everyone knows my business, you know. Because first, when people look at the ring and they see you in black, they go like, okay, you know. So the stigma around it, let me tell you, was very, very, it's still difficult. It's still difficult because now you're in a space whereby I work with clients, I'm in sales, you know, and in the end of the conversation of a consultation with the client, one will say, let me not hold you up so that you can get home and cook for your husband and your children. And I respond and say, oh, no, thank you so much, sir, but my husband is late. And, you know, it goes deep into, hey, if only I knew, especially African, if only I knew, you know, I was going to ask us to meet in, you know. And then some will give you tips on, now you must buy what and what bath with this. So Jehovah. The stigma around it is heavy. And it even happens amongst church people. It is heavy.
And then, I am tearing up as you're sharing this story, you know, because I'm trying to imagine one day you just want to go to the shop and do whatever you want to do. The next thing, people are reminding you.
Yes.
They're triggering you. Like literally every step you make is a trigger.
Yeah.
Meaning that if you could hide from that, say maybe not wear black so that people don't have to ask you,
Exactly.
then you wouldn't have to answer to anybody.
Exactly.
So literally you walking around wearing black, wearing a ring where people have to ask you, "Ugezile na?" It's more like you are walking around and people have salt in their hands and your wound is wide open.
Definitely.
And there are people who want to take advantage of you because you're a widow. Because I know, I once saw a story where there's a guy who only dates widows.
Wow, interesting.
Because they have money.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't you have people like that who approach you because something like that?
So I haven't had the luck. Let me leave it. Let me put on the luck of having someone who wants to date me because of the money.
Yeah.
I've had a very interesting conversation. This is a couple of months ago. If he sees it, good for him. Gap, 22 years.
Between you and him?
Yeah. So literally says to me, no one will want you because you are a single parent. No one will want you because you are a widow. I couldn't respond. I think I stayed for about a good month without responding to that WhatsApp. And I responded back. And I said, thank you for making me feel like I'm not human. But let me tell you something. I am a child of God. And anyone will be blessed to have me. Because it hurts so much that he laid a stigma that I'm no longer of use to anyone because and I'm a single mother. And I've come across people that go like, I don't want to date someone that has children in Westport or Shoneri. So I haven't had the luck of those that come and say because you've got money. I remember that there was one that said to me, hey, you were different since your husband passed. And I was like,
People's mouths have got holes.
No. People, listen, the moment that you say widow, they are thinking Unaldi million. That is the perception of, especially of, our black people.
Yeah. Yo, it's too much. Like this thing,
It's a lot.
There's always a stigma for every situation.
For everything. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
For me, I feel like I would understand the stigma of a divorced person because you chose to be divorced, no matter even if the situation was bad. But a widow, how low do we have to stoop for us to be able to? We want to make you feel bad when you didn't even choose to be in the situation that you are in.
Yeah. So it's literally it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking.
How do you protect yourself from that? How do you move forward from that?
My tongue. There was a video that you once made and you said, now I'm going to respond, guys. Now I'm going to respond, know. So there are times I make a short prayer and I'm like, Lord, the response I have on my tongue, I'm going to sin.
Yeah.
And I walk away. Because I just believe in putting people in their places. So sometimes you go like, is it worth it?
Yeah.
So with all the negativity that I've received around this journey, I've chosen not to respond to everything that comes to me. And I've chosen to behave as though I'm deaf. I move on. I just carry on and as if I did not hear you because I just noticed that not everything deserves a response. Yeah.
Sure, I know, Shem. This is it's hectic, and the fact that these type of comments are said by people, and not everybody would believe you or would believe that somebody with their mouths can say something like that.
Yeah.
If somebody said it on camera, then we'd be like, yo, wow, I can't believe you actually said that. But people actually are so mean and they're so vile and they say anything that comes to the top of their heads.
Exactly.
And that is so sad.
Heartbreaking. I've had 2 married women that have said to me, yo, I pray my husband doesn't die. And I looked at one and I said, so I didn't pray enough. That is what you're saying to me. Maybe you can also pray for my husband to resurrect. How's that? Because it hurt when someone, it's heartbreaking when a fellow Christian says to you, I pray 1, 2, and 3 does not happen to me. Like, for example, I pray I don't divorce. Guys, we do not know tomorrow. We do not know tomorrow. The husband that you are praying so hard that he doesn't die, you do not know tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh, I shame. And once you add Bazalwani there, it's just adding spice on top of it. My sister. I don't want to talk too much.
Yeah.
So life, like for yourself now, I'm not even talking about people and the stigma and everything. Like for yourself, day one after the dust has settled, people have gone back to their places. In your household, what do you do?
I lost my mind. I lost my mind. I sink into depression. I'm still on treatment. I remember my mom had to leave and my aunts had to leave, and it was just me and my boys.
Sure.
I kept on checking the door because I felt like my husband is knocking. I kept on opening the windows because I was like, no, maybe I could really feel myself losing my mind. I don't know how many times I missed the off ramp to work. I don't know how many times I wake up and I'm actually at his grave side. I do not know how I got to West Park Cemetery, but I'm just standing there and I'm asking God, is there a way that you can resurrect him for me? So day one was difficult, 2022 in a nutshell was just a very, very difficult year. Yeah.
And then the kids, where are the kids when you are going through everything that you're going through?
We are told not to cry in front of our children
Yeah.
because it damages them.
Okay.
And time and again, I would hide,
Sure.
when I'm crying. And when your child says, Mama, is Baba coming back? And now you have to explain that, no, Baba was sick, remember? And then they say, yes, he was coughing. They will say, like, yeah, he was coughing. And then the doctor tried to help Baba, but Baba couldn't get better. So God took him to heaven, So time and again, they would say to me, don't cry. Baba is in heaven, okay? And I look at them and I'm like, Lord, if only I had such innocence, because I was trying to preserve a good memory of him, not that of that sick body that he was in, but I was trying to show them videos of him when he was still well,
Yeah.
So it's been difficult even for them, And when you have small children, you do not only grieve for yourself, you grieve for them.
Yeah.
Because remember, they don't fully understand what's happening. So you try by all means to help them, because sometimes the older one will cry and say, I want Baba. I want Baba. And you just have to comfort him and try and explain deeper. And you know that, but I understand deep, but
Yeah. And okay, that is the emotional burden side of things, right? The financial burden, being able to financially provide for them alone, how is that?
I was really hoping you're not going to ask that. So my husband earned more than I did.
Yeah.
3 times more. So you imagine, I'm now a single parent. I earn close to nothing. Okay? And don't think that this person worked for Fidelity for years. He didn't. He worked for about 8 years. So you can't say that there were millions that I received. I am literally, part of my depression is the finances. Because now my eldest is diabetic type 1. He's got a special diet. I have to make sure that there's food, lights. I have to make sure that my helper is paid, School fees is paid. So literally that was a huge load on my depression, because now that 40 plus that was coming in is no longer there.
Yeah.
And it is, you can look for it anyway, it is just not there. You have to find ways of making whatever that you have multiplied, And I'll be very honest, it was difficult. It is still difficult, God has provided a few ways there and there for me to earn a bit of more money. But more than anything, single parenting is difficult.
Sure. Yo, you know what? This is very, very painful. I was having a conversation with a friend regarding the whole maintenance thing, right? To say a lot of us are, single parents. We are running around the maintenance court because we really want to force people to provide. And I'm trying to imagine you in your situation where you had somebody who was providing, for your kids, and then just like that, without even thinking twice, without nothing, no warning sign, gone, that source of income is cut and you having to cut down. And can the kids see at this point that the lifestyle that they are living now, because obviously there must be a downgrade of some sort, can they see that? How are they behaving around that? Is it frustrating them? How do you, sis?
Sometime in November, my youngest wanted a car, I think, a toy car. And I couldn't buy it for him because I didn't have money. And I cried, and I said to him, my boy, when mommy gets paid, she's going to buy you that car, But now remember, trying to explain to a toddler, They walk around the store and they pick up the toys and they put in the trolley
Yeah.
because mommy is going to pay, you know.
Yes.
And it's just heartbreaking, you know, because you try to make them understand, they don't fully understand, you know. So I think more than anything, it will only make sense to them as they grow that, okay, why mommy had to take this away? Why mommy had to take 1, 2, and, you know, away because of 1, 2, and 3. I must say that my sister-in-law, my sister's, my husband's older sister has been amazing, you know. She stepped in, you know, fully. She stepped in. A couple of people from church stepped in, you know, friends, close friends stepped in that, listen, we will try and help you carry whatever burden that is there. Obviously, we have our own thing, but what we can help with, we will help. So in as much as I do feel the pressure, but because of the support system that, you know, God brought my way, I'm able to, you know, sort of provide for them, even though it's not like before. But yeah.
Would you say that now you are like on your feet, you are stable, things are...
You know, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Now, someone might be angry for me for saying this, or to me for saying this, that grief is forever, you know. Grief is every day. Because every day you need to acquire new strength to wake yourself, get yourself out of bed, prepare yourself, take the car, drive to work, you know. So I'm literally on a journey, you know. I started the treatment of antidepressants just a few months after my husband passed. And then in the middle of 2022, I stopped because I was like, I'm okay, I'm back to it. Listen, I relapsed in October.
Sure.
You know, triggers came, work stress came. And the work stress, listen, it makes you say, you know. So it literally took me back, you know, and now back to therapy again, back to antidepressants again. So I won't say to you I'm on my feet fully, but one thing's for sure is that I am on a journey. Yeah.
One day at a time.
One day at a time.
Yo. And I know that you are now the voice, you know, to young widows.
Yeah.
You are
Yeah.
speaking to young widows.
Yeah.
What do you see the need to start something like this?
Sure. You know, there's a huge gap in the space of bereavement. And it's not only for widows, all right? There's a shame around losing your spouse. There's a shame around losing your mother. There's a shame around losing a sibling. There's a shame around losing a child. Because now, when I look at all that space and I say bereavement, I'm talking on a sense that the church struggles to tap into the space of grief.
Yeah.
The church struggles to tap into the space. Let me comfort perseverance in this way. Let me comfort Nonhlanhla in this way. They struggle. And some will tell you to your face, or now I don't know what to say to you. You know. And sometimes all you want is just for someone just to sit and have a cup of tea with you, or have a glass of water, you know, and assure you that it's painful now, but it's gonna be better. And I realized that a lot of young widows are literally walking this journey on their own. And 99% of the ones that I've met have said to me, my church isn't supportive. I've lost friends. I've lost colleagues, you know, people are treating me in a very different way. So I decided that I want to be the voice of young widows, so that when someone says to me, you know, I miss my husband today, you know, even though it's about to be 2 years, but I miss him. And I can understand because I'm in the same space, you know. And another thing that I'm on a journey on trying to teach people is that what to say to someone who is bereaved, what to say to a young widow. You know, you don't just say, I'm or I enough. Next time we fast this one, which next time, because this person is now underground, you know. So I'm trying to educate those around me, family members, friends as well, that this is how you need to treat me, you know. Don't think I'm a glass I break. I'm still Nonhlanhla. Yes, I am wounded, and a new page has been opened in my life, but don't treat me any different, you know. So that is why I said, you know what, young widows need a voice. Young widows need support in the same way as older widows, because a lot of people that, I'll make an example about my mother, you know, it's 23, 24 years later since my father passed on, but she can tell you the amount of disgrace she had to go through, the amount of rejection she had to go through, even amongst close friends, that yes, we do experience that. You are calling my husband too much. Yes, I've received messages whereby, please stop calling my husband. no, darling. That's what they think. Unfortunately, that is what they think. So the reason for that movement is that I feel that a lot of young widows need that support. And let me tell you, grief leads to suicide. A lot of people don't know that, because instantly you feel like, I want to follow Pilani, you know, and you don't even think about these young people that you are left with to take care of, to help them grow. You're already thinking, it was going to be better if I had also died. And listen, I was in that space whereby it was going to be better if I had also died, you know. So I am that voice, because I just feel like a lot of people that are bereaved, they need a lot of support. It is not only the day whereby we stand on that podium and you say, my sister, call me anytime you need me, then we disappear. It is a journey throughout that person that has lost a spouse, a child, a mother, or a brother needs you so that they can heal.
You know, I always speak about how at funerals, people who are giving speeches, right? They would stand there and promise heaven and earth to the bereaved family. And they never look back. So I always say that we need to have sellotape at the gate of the funeral homes. Everybody close your mouth, don't say anything, because we all know what you're going to say here. You're not going to fulfill. Do you also experience people who would promise, listen, but they even today, they're still not sitting?
I can count with one hand the people that said that, and they are in my life. With one hand.
Oh no, so people, please refrain from, during funerals, please refrain from that speech of saying, we will do this, we will take care of you, you will not suffer. Because I've seen that a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is so sad. How is it like dealing with older widows compared to younger widows?
You know, there's something that Memas Chavashai once said to me. She said, Nons, we lost our spouses in a very different way, you know, but we are in the same boat. We are widowed, you know. And the interesting part about it is that as you sit with an older widow and you listen to what she says to you, the steps are the same. It's just that she's older. Maybe she's experienced it 15 years ago, 20 years ago, but the journey is the same, you know. The only difference is that a lot of them will tell you, we didn't have podcasts to come and share. We didn't have WhatsApp groups for us to say, hey guys, I'm having a bad day today. Hey guys, I'm having this. And they'll tell you now that we want to be part of it. There was this group that I joined in the beginning, just after I lost my husband. There were women that were older widows. I remember there was one particular that inboxed me and said, listen, my baby, when you are out of sleep, talk to God. And I said, how do I talk to God? Because my pain has muted me from speaking. And she said to me, your tears are your prayer, you know. So it's one journey, but obviously the experiences of how our spouses have passed on are totally different. But the journey is the same. Yeah.
And before we started, we're actually speaking on being able to handle things like your debts and property and whatnot after your spouse has passed away, because I feel like that is one piece of information that's going to be very valuable to a lot of people, because I mean, when we get married, we're not preparing for when the other person dies, you know, but when they do die, then we get stranded. We don't even know where to go for help. Like in terms of getting your house in order, what would be the things that you would advise somebody, the steps that they would take and where they can get help for what part?
So, you know, the first thing that I am craving for deeply is to talk with young couples, firstly, before we talk to widows.
Sure.
A lot of us get married and we don't think of that part. Till death do us apart. We're just saying it. We're excited. Remember, we're standing there in our beautiful dresses, till death do us apart. And death, to some, has come in a week's time. There's no will in place. There's no life cover in place. So those are the things that you have first of all have to make sure that they are in place. And after losing your spouse, obviously you make sure that you get your letter of authority. I, for one, went and consulted obviously with attorneys, and they were charging quite a lot of money. And you know, thank God I found people that were willing to say, listen, let's help you get the letter of authority, and then you can do the rest on your own. And within a space of 3 months, I was done with my husband's estate. Submitted the letter of authority where I needed to submit it, and, you know, rounded up everything, and I was done. So for some, it will be difficult. Obviously, there's fights within families, you know, because there's some that You know, I want it. So I always say to people, make sure that your will is in place. Make sure that those things are in place. Tell your husband, it can't be a secret. Because at the end of the day, and not come back home, you know. And you find that some people have actually gotten surprises whereby no, my daughter Perseverance must get everything.
Yeah.
She didn't know that. It's all a surprise now when he has passed on, you know. So I usually say to people, get those things in order. After your husband has passed, listen, there is no time for you to be going around crying the whole time and closing yourself up. You need to get up and soldier on. Ulo follow the lines at the UIF. Ulo follow the line when I go court letter of authority and go to banks and close his account. It's a lot of work, you know.
Sure. And you have to do yourself.
You have to do it yourself. You have to do it yourself. You can't send Nonhlanhla and say, you've walked this journey before. No, you have to go there for yourself. Sign those things on the behalf of your late husband. Questions you need to answer. My husband had bought a new bakkie, you know, and he didn't have a credit life on it. I had to sell that. Thank God I had help. I had to sell that and settle the bank. And I had to do that on my own. And it didn't need me to be crying, I was crying with one eye while I was busy with the other eye with, you know, his estate. So I was actually saying to one this afternoon that go and open an estate account. You have a letter of authority now. Go to the banks, close his accounts, check where he has a debt, send them the death certificate, send them the letter of authority, make them aware that you are dealing with his estate. Because a lot of young widows, I tell you, they do not know where to go. And some of them are robbed because they do not have the knowledge around it.
And they're vulnerable, you know,
They're
at
vulnerable.
that time.
Exactly.
And what are the chances of you losing everything because of that? Because I know that you guys, you know me, when I talk about finances, I never come to an end. Debts in relationships and marriages, it's a big problem.
Yeah.
You may find that maybe while you are still married, one financially is unstable. And when now that person passes away, how does that affect you who is remaining behind and all the debt that belong to him? Do you carry that over or does it depend on the type of marriage that you were in?
Listen, in community of property, you carry that. That is why I'm saying that I was left with the new bakkie. And funny enough, God works in mysterious ways. 2 months just before my husband got sick, he had a huge debt. And he said, listen, I've got this lump sum. I'm going to pay those debts and just close them. I didn't understand why, you know, but now it made sense after he passed. So my biggest debt was the Ranger. And I remember that when I approached ABSA and I said, listen, I do not want to keep the bakkie. I will not be able to afford it. They said to me, no, we can take down the installment. I said, nope. I do not even want to put myself in that burden because when he was sick already, I was chased down the road by these guys that wanted the car. So I want to basically give it back. And they said, okay, listen, if we take it, we're going to auction it. The remainder of that balance, you are going to have to pay. And listen, when the auction cars, 150, 250. So I was clever. I approached a gentleman from our church who's a car dealer and I said, listen, I have a bakkie, it's brand new, it's 4 months old. Can you help me sell this? And I got a buyer within like a week. And listen, I took that lump sum and I went to ABSA and I settled that debt. So it's with you. Especially in community of property, it is with you, my darling. You are not going to shift it to someone else. You're going to sweep it under the carpet. No, it is left with you. You need to sort that out.
Are you listening to what this lady is saying, or your one ear is closed? Because she's saying to you that the community of property that you are signing in when you get married, if anything happens, God forbid, you are going to pay all of those debts. For me, I feel like, because I found out during the whole process of divorce that you're not entirely, the debt of the person that you are married to in community of property doesn't really stick to you for as long as they are alive.
Yeah.
But the minute they pass.
Yes, my darling. You make sure that you pay that.
And there is no warning sign?
No, there isn't. And they won't say to you, there was a day they actually wanted to come and take the car from me. I got a call. I was at the office and they said, hey, ma'am, I'm like, oh, but I have an email here that I'm still discussing what I'm going to do with the bakkie. And I said to the lady, listen, I sobered up immediately. Listen, my darling, you guys come and fetch the bakkie. I'm going to pay you guys 20 rand per month until I'm done with this debt. And, she giggled. She literally laughed at me, and I said, I kid you not. I'm going to pay you guys 20 rand. Because right now, you know, because I've explained to you the situation. I'm still busy with this person's estate. And remember, I could not even sell the car without a letter of authority. I had to have the letter of authority that says, I am now handling the estate of the late Nonhlanhla Mhlongo. So in that sense, and I just said the late, in that sense, you know, it hits you hard that if I don't sober up, then I'm going to swim in debt. And I'm going to be left with a whole, remember now, the debt that you're left with, I'm not saying that my children are a debt, but remember, they need to eat.
Yeah.
They need to get clothes. So if you will be paying this lump sum that you did not want to push your husband, who is still alive now, to pay, you're going to pay for it when he has passed on.
This is some serious reality check.
It's a serious, listen, it's a serious, serious reality check.
Those who have ears would have heard this
hear.
part, because literally for me, I feel like this is a very, very important part.
Yeah.
And now I know obviously this might not even be first-hand experience, but because you speak to a lot of widowers, haven't you had situations where the surprise babies, surprise things that show up at the funeral or after the husband has passed away, or what then happens after that? How do people deal with that?
Sure, you know, funny enough, I was invited to a conference on the 17th of December by Mam Shai, and one of the widows shared her journey. You know, an older widow. She said a child popped up just after when my husband was sick. And my husband kept quiet. Then the child came, Kalif, and said, "Hi, mang." You know, and I love her bubbliness. She said, "Now I'm naturally a strong person." I looked at him and I was like, "Okay, welcome to the family," and I moved on. You know, but it hit me after that. Hey man, there's a child that introduced himself and said, you know, thank God I haven't had that. I still say if there is, you know, there's something that I can do. You know, and I tell you, a lot of them will say to you, some kids showed up and then some will say, I met Mwanatengi a few months after my husband passed because Mwatengi narumeletse SMS and then I discovered there's a child somewhere, you know. So a lot of them, honestly, it literally takes them deeper into their depression, you know, because remember now the dishonesty shows, and you do not know me now, Perseverance. You will only know me. You only know your spouse. Because now that's when you find out a lot of things. That's when you see a lot of things on the phone. You see a lot of, you know, a lot of things are revealed to you. Because remember, when I'm alive, I'm able to hide things behind me. But the moment that I'm dead, you have to check my things. And that is when you see a lot of things. Yeah.
And also the fact that the same person is not here to answer for themselves.
Exactly.
Now to say what's what. And then show me, why are you doing this to me or what? Yeah. There's nothing you can do about that. Yo, sis, I feel like this is one informative episode that we're having that is going to be life-changing for a lot of people. Yeah. What is the one thing that you want to push out there, like for not only for widows, you know, because I mean, in as much as we are always talking about how we have different stigmas, everybody's attached to a stigma of some sort. You don't have a mother, you are divorced, you are a widow, you are this, you are that. But what is the one thing that you desire to see changing in our society regarding widows, like dealing with widows?
Sure. You know, firstly, I'm going to touch on mental health. That is so important, all right? And there are some, as I speak to you, I admit it, you know, because they simply can't accept the death of their spouse. Be kind. Help them through the journey. And for Black people, it is okay to get help. It is okay to say, Yazin, like I'm depressed. Like I need a psychiatrist. Like I need to be on medication, you know? And never in my whole life did I ever think I, Nonhlanhla, would be taking antidepressants. I know myself as a strong person, as a go-getter, you know. Never, ever did I ever think that one day I will drive past my house and only realize when I'm at Clearwater that, no man, Kidula, no skate, you know. So let me turn back and drive back. And all because of mental health, you know. So I just want the society, first of all, to be kind to people that are bereaved. not only to widows, but to people that are bereaved. Because you find a lot of people that will say to you, "Hi man, get over it." Christians, to be specific.
Yeah.
There was one that said to me, "Hey, ukhala ngathi awumazi uNkulunkulu." Hayibo. In the word of God, it says Jesus wept. So who are we not to weep? I'm not trying to say stay in your corner, lick your wounds and whatnot, but I'm trying to say let people grieve their loved ones. Let people mourn their loved ones. Don't come in with Bible scriptures and tell them that they must fast and be healed from whatever and whatever. Jesus himself wept, So I just want society as a whole to assist, young widowed people, or even older widowed people, or bereaved people. There's a woman a couple of years back who used to carry a doll after she lost her child. And people that were around her started saying, it was mental health, guys. And these are the things that we do not look at, that mental health is a really, really big deal. There is a lot of suicides that are happening due to mental health. There's a lot of Christians that are killing themselves because they're not looking after their mental health. I just wish that part alone can change. And the stigma around if that can go away, that would bring a change. We are not in the 1950s whereby backseat. It still happens, unfortunately, for some that are taking public transport, whereby they need to sit on the back seat and they can't tap. Yes, my darling.
Yeah.
Yes. That is what widows are going through. You can't sit, no one must sit behind you. When you look back seat, even if you don't they must sit right behind you.
So the only thing that will save you is if you're no longer wearing the black clothes.
If you're no longer wearing, or you're driving your own car, that is much better. Because you don't get to be stigmatized at the rank or whatever.
I bet the issue of stigmatization is
a lot.
Issue.
It's a lot, and it's unfortunately amongst us, the black community. Amongst us, the black community, it's painful. So if that could just move away. Ngishonelwe but akusho ukuthi nginesinyama, and then ukushonela kwami akusho ukuthi mawuhlacela kwami nawe uzoshona, or if you're in a relationship with me now uzoshona, because a lot of them go like, hey abafelokazi, once wajola naye nje uyashona, and you think to yourself, how kanjani, so the beliefs that we have are really, really ridiculous.
And so now, how does, okay, you don't have to answer this one, my sister. Because I've seen, the one person that I've seen, being open about her dating life after losing her husband is this lady. She used to act on Mubango. Her name is Simpiwe.
Yes, I see
She's been open about that. And also she had to face her fair share of tongue lash, until she literally had to be the one of those that says, listen, I am not going here. I'm sitting here. I'm going to live my life. Dating life after being a widow, how is that like? Or do you have, or the people you have shared with, because I do believe there's some people that are widowed and they're married again, moving on with that. How is that?
On the now numerous of proposals I've had and coffee dates I've gone on.
Yes. Give us the tea, honey.
The person will say to you, I am not Pilani. Bear in mind, you have not said anything about your husband, your late husband. The person immediately says, I am not Pilani. Therefore, I cannot give you what Pilani gave you. And therefore, I cannot be a father to your children. And remember, you are not hunting for a father. You're hunting for someone that you can be friends with, and whatnot. So dating after losing a spouse, I can tell you now, is very difficult. It is a very bitter pill to swallow, because immediately someone approaches you, I want to date you, but are you over your husband?
Hey.
Mara guys, my husband is the one that has passed on. So if you are asking me if I am over this person, I wasn't dating this person for 3 months and then and that's it, No. I had built a life with this person. I had made plans with this person. I still have a diary whereby we had planned 2023, 2024. You understand? So when you approach me and you say to me, manje, if siyazwana mina now, you must just know Guti, I don't want you speaking about your husband. There's one that said to me, I do not want you to be crying, And I said, my brother, just because you have said that, this relationship cannot happen.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, I'm in a stage whereby I feel like me dating, is a waste of time for me, unfortunately, because my greatest focus is my children. My greatest focus is my career, you know, because also, hey, Mujolo guys, the stories I've heard around it, you know, it's scary, you know. So it's a bit of a very sensitive topic for me at the moment, that do I actually want to be in a relationship or not? But I can tell you that the conversations I've had over coffee, they are really, really, you know, disgusting.
Yeah, they should be disgusting.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like, I'm always going to use the example of saying, when you choose to end a relationship and when somebody passes away, these are two different things, you know?
Yeah.
So you can't expect me to be over that person and just move on with my life. And if you're not willing to understand that, then what are we doing? We shouldn't even be having this coffee to begin with. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to just the... I don't want to say loneliness, you know, because I've had a tongue lash on social media about the whole issue of being self-sufficient and whatnot. How do you move from being used to being with somebody all the time, the void, you know, the fact that they're not coming back is one thing, right? But now the fact that just longing to be with somebody next to you, how do you handle that?
Sure. I play sports cars with my babies. You will laugh. I own a very small sports car. So when that hits, you know, I give myself to them.
Yeah.
I take them to the park. I take a drive. I love ice cream. So I buy myself ice cream and I put on my kwaito and I just drive, you know. And I'm grateful for the kind of friends that I have. I can drop a message in the group and say, hey guys, who today, you know. And let me tell you, that loneliness is so loud, eh? It is so loud. I've had days whereby I just open up where I've packed his clothes and I wear his jacket just to have a sense of comfort, you know, even though I know that he's not coming back. I've had days whereby I drive to his graveside and I just stand there and I say, Mfethu, even though you can hear me, but it's difficult.
It's tough.
It's hard,
today.
you know, it's hard today. So the loneliness is loud. The loneliness is painful. The loneliness hits to a point whereby it's almost like you feel like there's a hole here exposed to the back, you know. And I always said to a couple of friends that I wish there was a pill you can take for that pain that heals the soul, but there isn't, you know. And I've grown a routine of being more in prayer at that time, you know, because I just feel like the more I tell God on how I feel, even though it doesn't soothe fully, but it helps, you know. There's that sense of it gets a bit better, you know, the sense of hope that it may hurt now, but eventually it will get better. Yeah.
And I feel like having your kids also is a blessing, because
big time.
Imagine if they were not there. In as much as it's tough having to raise them alone.
Yeah.
But let's say, okay, fine, not having the kids means less financial problems. But then the impact that they have in just soothing the pain that you have.
Yeah.
There are other people who don't even have that. And I can only imagine how it's like for them.
Yeah, exactly. You know, my boys, sure. I did a KPI at work and my final notes, there's a part where it says, what drives you? And I wrote my boys. And my boss called me in and said, Noni, I understand your boys drive you. Please find something else. And I said, I don't have anything else.
Okay.
But my boys, listen, I look at them and I go like, they need a mom that is going to provide for them, you know. And I've always been the kind of person that I love deeply, you know. So the youngest loves to look at me and says, you know, Baba loves you, you know. He looks exactly like him. And I'm like, when did he tell you that? Like, no, he told me the other day in heaven. And you know, I go like, kids are angels. Maybe we'll go somewhere, I could say it, you know. But I tell you, my boys are the greatest gift that planet could have ever given me, you know. Because in as much as I have a conversation sometimes with them and I say, hey guys, mommy's having a horrible day. And then the older one will say, horrible, ne? I'm like, yeah, very horrible. Like, no, it's going to be fine. I'm going to buy you a sweet. I'm like, yeah, please, Papa, buy me. So, you know, that conversation, even though it's not a person that is within your age, but there is a sense of healing that also happens, you know, at that time. So they are a blessing, I tell you. They're a blessing.
Kids really are a blessing. I remember at some point in my life where I was going through a really difficult time, and I was not like the same. You remember the same thing that you said, that sometimes you would even pass where you stay.
Yeah.
I was driving to deliver something to somebody else, right? And my daughter said she wanted to go with me. She was still very young by then. I think she was 2 years old. She was 3 years old. So she got into the back of the car, right? And when I lost focus, because I think for a couple of minutes, I lost track of where I was. You know, I was not there. I don't even know how to explain it.
You zoomed out.
Only thing, yes, I zoomed out. And the only thing that kept me, or that saved me, my daughter started singing at the back, saying the wheels of the bus go round and round. That is literally what woke me up.
Sure.
And when I woke up, when I heard her singing, I parked on the side of the road and I cried for a long time, you know, and I did whatever it is that I had to do. And then I went back home. And when I got home, I just started, I'm a very touchy person, you know, she knows, my kids know, I hug, I kiss, I do this and I do that. And I looked at her, and when she was sleeping later on, I'm like, yo, this one saved my life today. And she has no idea, you know, because I kind of feel like if they were not there, compared to, like, I don't even want to compare situations, because I know that situations are not the same. But I feel like to a certain degree, they play a role in motivating us to keep going no matter how difficult it is, you know? Because somebody who does not have little human beings that will be like, okay, listen, you brought us here from heaven. We didn't even know.
Exactly.
And we didn't even ask to be here, but you brought us here now. Make a plan, make it happen, make it work, you know?
Exactly.
So they really do keep us going to a certain degree, you know? Every day we wake up in the morning and we see the need to, you know, live because of them, because we really want, you know, we don't want them to feel, they may not feel the pain as much as we're feeling it. To whatever it is that we can do to protect them from feeling the same way that we are, then we can do that, you know? And I feel like that is, that's just me. And we are almost out of time, but I would love for you to just, in closing, share with us your parting words, because I feel like also give us details, you know, of where people can find you, the support groups that you have, and what you think, because I do believe, I trust my people in the comment section that they're going to write down what they think should be done, what more can be done, what needs to be organized and arranged. I trust them with that. But also I would love to hear from you what you feel like can be done, and just your closing words.
You know, firstly, Madam Speaker, life doesn't stop. Okay. I realized this one day as I stopped on the N1 and I wept. And why I wept, I realized that Piran is no more, but life continues. And I think if I remember correctly, they had just replaced him at work, you know, and his box was all packed up, his stuff. And I realized that he is no more, but life is not going to stop. So I want to just say to the young widows is that, or any person that is bereaved for that matter, life continues. Do not stop living because your loved one is no longer in the picture. And do not feel like you failed them, because there was a time whereby I felt like I failed him, you know. I didn't do enough to help him. So, you know, the will of God has taken place. Allow it. But more than anything, get help. I am an advocate, guys, for mental health. Get help. You're depressed, reach out, get help. I've got a small WhatsApp group of young widows that we obviously greet and share verses and motivationals and whatnot, and assist each other. I don't know if it's okay to share my cell phone number.
Of course you can.
You can get me on 073 394 8601, 073 394 8601. So that is my WhatsApp number that they can get me on. Please share, but more than anything, I am more than willing to walk the journey, you know. I'm not saying that I'm a superhero, but I'm saying that do not walk the journey on your own. Sikona.
Is it only for widows or widowers as well?
Widowers as well are more than welcome to reach out, because I've realized men don't speak, and men don't like these hippie groups and you know, WhatsApp groups and teas and whatnot. No, they don't want that. They just want to crown their own in the, you know, in the corner. So a friend of mine who also lost his wife, as I told you, that we wanted to start a channel also on the journey of widowhood. You know, we haven't named it yet, but we just did one video the other day that we were sharing that how difficult it is.
You should come to Sand Studios. They will accommodate you guys.
No, definitely we will. Definitely we will. So, but more than anything, reach out, men. The widowers as well, they're more than welcome. You know, they're more than welcome.
I think also the one thing that you might want to do, ne, is a camp. I'm a big fan of camp. I believe that if you've been following me, you know that I do, I think 3 or 4 times a year, I do camps where I call them loving yourself back to life. I think a camp would be such a beautiful thing to have. If you want any kind of help where we can, you know, any support, because I believe that being a bereaved has got nothing to do with just being a widow and widower. It's a lot, you know. So if you want to do something like that, you and your friend, we are here to support you fully. We are here to make it if you really want to make it happen. Whenever you're ready, let us know. We'll make it happen. And we see how much we can do to actually help, one day at a time, one camp, one video. Let's help each other, you know, become better people. And also for me, I feel like the most important thing, it's just educating each other as society, because educating each other means that we create a safe space for people to be in their different circumstances. You understand what I'm saying? And an educated society, it's a society that does not hurt one another. I believe that the reason why we are the way that we are, especially as people of color, our ignorance is part of, you know, the fact that we don't learn. We're not interested in knowing. We take whatever it is that we picked up from wherever and we keep it going like that. But if we educate ourselves, then we make it easy for us to actually, you know what, accommodate one another and understand each other's situations. If you want to agree for 10 years, why should I stop you? Why should I question you? Why should I have a remark of some sort? You know, I don't have to do any of that. And I believe that if we support one another and be there for one another, we can really make a difference.
Definitely.
Unfortunately, we have reached the end of our episode for today. Once again, thank you so much to Zen Studios for hosting us as usual. Our hope, these guys, you will remove us here with a tractor ganda. You remember the one from Wheatbank there, with the one that demolished the house?
Yeah.
That's the TLP. That's the one you're going to use to remove us from Zen Studio.
Oh my goodness.
No, we'll move into the back room now because we really feel at home here. And thank you so much to our guest, Nonhlanhla. I really wish you all the best. And you know, we are here for you. Whatever you need.
Thank you.
We are family now and we love you so much. Thank you so much for the good work that you're doing also. All right.
Thank you.
With that being said, thank you so much. We'll see you on the next upload. Mwah.